They grow in silence. They appear overnight, fully formed from nothing visible. Some glow in the dark, some are older than ancient forests, some can kill a grown adult with a single bite, and others have been quietly healing the human brain for centuries. Mushrooms are not plants, they are not animals, they belong to a kingdom entirely their own, and some of them look like nature was dreaming when it made them. Let's discover them together. Welcome to Flora. 1. Fly agaric. If you have ever read a fairy tale, you have already seen this mushroom. The fly agaric is the mushroom of imagination, a wide scarlet cap dotted with perfect white spots rising from a white stem on the forest floor beneath birch and pine trees. It looks exactly the way a child would draw a mushroom if they had never been told what one looked like. And yet it is completely real and has been growing in northern forests for millions of years. It is toxic, causing vivid hallucinations, delirium, and in large quantities, serious harm. Some historians believe it may have been used in ancient shamanic rituals across Siberia and Scandinavia, consumed deliberately for visions. Others believe it inspired the red and white colors of a certain gift-bearing figure who visits in winter. The fly agaric does not care about any of these theories. It simply grows, impossibly beautiful, quietly dangerous, exactly as it always has. 2. Lion's mane mushroom. This mushroom does not look like a mushroom. It grows from the sides of trees as a cascading waterfall of soft white tendrils, long, delicate, flowing downward like the mane of something ancient and gentle. No cap, no stem, just layer upon layer of hanging spines, each one thin as a thread. But its appearance is only the beginning. Lion's mane contains compounds called hericenones and erinacines that have been shown in research to stimulate the growth of nerve cells, including in the brain. Studies suggest it may support memory, focus, and nerve regeneration in ways that science is only beginning to understand. A mushroom that looks like a waterfall and may quietly be rebuilding the mind of whoever eats it. Nature hid one of its most remarkable gifts inside something that looks like it belongs in a dream. 3. Ghost fungus. In the forests of southern Australia, after dark, something on a rotting log begins to glow. The ghost fungus produces a steady, cold, blue-green bioluminescence. Not a flash, not a pulse, but a continuous soft light, visible to the naked eye in complete darkness. It grows in clusters, overlapping like pale shelves on dead wood, and at night, the entire colony illuminates the forest floor around it. Scientists still debate why. The leading theory is that the glow attracts insects which then spread its spores, but no one is entirely certain. What is certain is that the ghost fungus is also deeply toxic, causing severe gastrointestinal illness in anyone who mistakes its pale color for an edible oyster mushroom. It glows to be seen, but perhaps not by us. 4. Amethyst deceiver. The forest floor is usually a study in browns and greys. Then the amethyst deceiver appears and suddenly there is violet, a deep, vivid, almost electric purple that covers the cap, the gills, and the stem entirely, as if someone placed a gemstone in the leaf litter and let it grow. It earns its name honestly. Young specimens are intensely colored. As they age, the purple fades, and they begin to look like dozens of other small brown mushrooms, becoming nearly impossible to identify correctly. It is edible when young, potentially dangerous when confused with others. One of nature's most beautiful mushrooms is also one of its most deliberately misleading. The amethyst deceiver looks like a gift. It simply requires you to know exactly what you are looking at before you accept it. 5. Bleeding tooth fungus. At first glance, it looks like something has been wounded. Drops of deep red liquid bead across the surface of this young white mushroom, oozing from its pores, running down its irregular surface, pooling at the base. The bleeding tooth fungus is not injured. The red liquid is a natural secretion, a process called guttation, where the mushroom releases excess fluid through its surface pores when the soil is saturated with water. The red color comes from pigments within that fluid, and research has identified anticoagulant compounds in it with potential pharmaceutical interest. As it ages, the red fades and the mushroom turns brown and unremarkable. But in its youth, on a damp forest morning, it looks like a crime scene that nature staged for reasons it has not yet explained. Six, puffball mushroom. The giant puffball grows in fields and forest edges, looking like a fallen volleyball, smooth, white, and perfectly round, sometimes reaching the size of a human head. Inside, when young, it is pure white and densely solid, edible, and according to those who have tried it, genuinely delicious when sliced and cooked like a steak. But left to mature, it transforms. The interior turns from white to yellow to olive to deep brown as trillions of spores develop inside. When the outer skin finally ruptures, from rain, from wind, from an animal brushing past, it releases those spores in a cloud that can contain up to 7 trillion individual cells. 7 trillion from a single mushroom, each one capable, under the right conditions, of becoming another. Seven, Mycena chlorophos. In the forests of Japan, Brazil, and parts of Southeast Asia, something small and fragile glows green in the darkness. Mycena chlorophos is one of the most vibrantly bioluminescent mushrooms on Earth, producing a bright, cold green light strong enough to read by, at least in theory. It grows on dead wood and plant debris, typically appearing after heavy rainfall, and its glow is brightest in the first days of its life. The caps are small, barely an inch across, but in groups on a dark forest floor, they create the impression of scattered stars that fell from the sky and decided to stay. Unlike the ghost fungus, Mycena chlorophos is not toxic. It simply glows because that is what it does. No apparent reason, no confirmed survival advantage, just light in the dark for its own sake. 8. Cauliflower fungus. From a distance, it could be a pile of pale cream-colored fabric that someone left at the base of a tree. Up close, the cauliflower fungus reveals itself as one of the most structurally complex organisms in the forest, a dense mass of flattened, wavy, interlocking lobes growing outward from a single, rooted base. It can reach 18 inches across and weigh several pounds. It grows from the roots of living conifers, connected underground in a relationship that weakens the tree slowly over years. Edible and prized in Japanese cuisine, it absorbs flavors from whatever it is cooked with, while contributing a subtle, nutty taste of its own. It is also being studied for immune-modulating compounds that may support the body's defenses in ways science is still mapping. Beautiful, complex, slightly parasitic, and quietly medicinal. It contains contradictions the way forests always do. Nine, veiled lady mushroom. The veiled lady mushroom emerges from the forest floor wearing a skirt, a delicate lace-like veil called an indusium, hangs from the cap downward, draping the stem in a fine white net that looks like something a jeweler might produce, not a fungus. It grows in tropical forests across Asia, Africa, and the Americas, appearing seemingly overnight after rain. The cap produces a dark, foul-smelling slime called gleba, which attracts flies and insects that then carry its spores away. The elegance above and the strategy below exist simultaneously, without contradiction. In Chinese medicine, it has been used for centuries and is still considered a delicacy in Yunnan province, harvested young before the smell develops. Nature's most elegantly dressed mushroom uses beauty and revulsion in equal measure, and has been doing so long enough that humans learn to eat it anyway. Devil's cigar. This mushroom is so rare that it exists in only 2 places on Earth, certain forests in Texas and a small isolated region in Japan. No one has fully explained why. It grows underground attached to the roots of dead cedar trees and emerges as a dark brown cigar-shaped pod. When it is ready, the pod splits open, slowly, over hours, into a star-shaped form, releasing spores in a visible hissing mist accompanied by a faint, audible sound. It is one of the only fungi known to make a sound during spore release. 2 populations, 2 continents, thousands of miles of ocean between them. The same species, living the same quiet, extraordinary life in the same type of dead root system. How it came to exist in exactly these 2 places and nowhere else is a question ecology has not yet answered. Indigo milk. Cap cut this mushroom open and it bleeds blue. The indigo milk cap releases a latex-like fluid when its flesh is broken, and that fluid is a deep, vivid indigo blue that stains everything it touches. The color fades to green over time as the latex oxidizes, shifting through shades like a bruise, healing in reverse. It grows in forests across North America, East Asia, and Central America, and is edible, eaten in Mexico and parts of China, where its striking color is considered appealing rather than alarming. The blue latex serves as a defense. The taste is bitter, and the color signals strangeness to many would-be consumers. But in the right hands, in the right kitchen, the mushroom that bleeds blue becomes dinner. Nature's warnings are not universal. They depend entirely on who is reading them. 12. Turkey tail mushroom. The turkey tail is perhaps the most studied medicinal mushroom on Earth. It grows in overlapping shelves on dead logs, displaying concentric rings of color: cream, tan, brown, rust, gray, arranged in bands that do indeed resemble the fanned tail of a wild turkey. It contains a compound called polysaccharide K, known as PSK, which is used as a standard adjunct cancer treatment in Japan, administered alongside chemotherapy. In the United States, clinical trials have examined its ability to support immune function in cancer patients, with results significant enough that the National Institutes of Health funded further research. It grows on nearly every continent. It grows in your local forest right now on a fallen log. One of the most medically significant organisms in nature, is also one of the most common, available everywhere, studied by science, and still not fully understood. The forest has been offering it freely for as long as there have been forests. Parrot waxcap. The parrot waxcap arrives in a color that grasslands rarely see. Young specimens are a vivid, almost unreal green, the color of new leaves or polished jade, with a slimy, waxy surface that catches light like wet paint. As it ages, the green gives way to yellow, then orange, then pink, a single mushroom cycling through an entire spectrum across its short life. It grows in old, undisturbed grasslands that have never been plowed or fertilized, making it an indicator species, its presence a sign that the land beneath it has remained intact for generations. Where you find the parrot waxcap, you find ancient ground, a mushroom that changes color as it lives, growing only where the earth has been left alone long enough to remember what it once was. Destroying angel. This is the most dangerous mushroom in the world. The destroying angel is pure white, clean, elegant, and completely deadly. Half a cap contains enough amatoxin to kill a healthy adult. The toxin works slowly, Symptoms do not appear for 6 to 24 hours after consumption. By the time nausea and pain begin, the toxins have already begun destroying liver and kidney cells. At that stage, treatment options are limited. It smells pleasant. It looks like several common edible mushrooms. It grows in the same forests at the same time of year, in the same conditions as species people regularly collect and eat. Every year, people with experience mistake it. The destroying angel does not advertise what it is. It grows quietly, beautifully, in the shade of ordinary trees, and waits. Earth star fungus. The earth star begins as a round, unremarkable ball nestled in leaf litter. Then it opens. The outer skin splits into pointed rays that fold backward, slowly, over hours, curling away from the center and lifting the inner spore sac upward, elevating it above the ground like a star that grew from soil. When raindrops fall on the central sac, puffs of spores are expelled through a small hole at the top. Each raindrop a tiny pump, each pulse sending thousands of spores into the air. It uses rain to spread itself. It waits for the weather, opens itself to receive it, and lets the storm do the work. The Earth star is not large, it is not rare, it is not particularly dangerous or particularly medicinal. It is simply one of the most quietly elegant things nature has ever assembled from ordinary materials. Chicken of the woods. There is a mushroom growing on trees across Europe and North America that tastes, with reasonable accuracy, like chicken. The chicken of the woods grows in large, bright orange and yellow shelving brackets on the sides of living and dead trees, visible from a considerable distance, which is unusual for a mushroom. Its texture, when cooked, is firm and fibrous. Its flavor is mild and savory. It has been used as a meat substitute in vegetarian cooking with consistent results. It can grow to extraordinary sizes. A single cluster reaching 100 pounds has been recorded. There is something almost generous about a mushroom this large, this visible, this edible, growing at eye level on the side of a tree, as if it decided that hiding was unnecessary and simply chose to be found. Panellus stipticus. This small, pale, unremarkable mushroom growing on oak logs in North American forests holds a distinction most organisms never earn. It is one of the brightest bioluminescent fungi in the world. In daylight, it is easy to overlook, thin, dry-edged, clustered on bark without particular elegance. But in complete darkness, it glows with a green-white light that has surprised more than one nighttime hiker who reached for a branch and found it illuminated. Its glow is continuous, not triggered by movement or touch, but simply constant hour after hour, night after night throughout its life. It does not advertise the fact it grows in plain sight during the day, completely ordinary. And then the sun sets and it becomes something else entirely. Something most people walking past it will never know it was. Cordyceps. This is perhaps the most disturbing entry on this list. Cordyceps is a parasitic fungus, but its host is not a tree or a log. Its host is an insect, usually an ant. Spores land on the ant's body, penetrate the exoskeleton, and the fungus begins to grow inside the living animal, spreading through its body while keeping the ant alive. Then, as the infection matures, something changes in the ant's behavior. It leaves its colony. It climbs a plant stem to a precise height, usually 25 centimeters, the optimal humidity for fungal growth. It clamps its mandibles into the plant and locks them there. And then it dies. The fungus erupts from the back of the ant's head, releases spores onto the colony below, and the cycle begins again. The ant did not choose any of this. Something else was steering. Cordyceps does not think. It has no brain. It has no intention in any way we understand, and yet it does this precisely and reliably every time. 19. Satanic mushroom/devil's fingers. This mushroom does not emerge, it erupts. Devil's fingers begins as a pale egg buried in soil or mulch, then splits open to reveal 4 to 8 red arms that unfold outward and upward like fingers reaching from underground. The arms are bright red, spongy, and covered in a dark brown slime called gleba, which produces a smell of rotting flesh powerful enough to attract flies from a considerable distance. Flies land, consume the gleba, and carry spores away on their bodies. It is native to Australia and New Zealand but has spread to Europe, where it now appears in gardens and parks, startling people who encounter it for the first time with no warning. Nothing about it looks like it belongs above ground. It looks like something trying to come up from somewhere else. 20. Mycorrhizal network. We end not with a single mushroom, but with what mushrooms truly are beneath the surface. The fruiting bodies we have seen throughout this video are only what is visible. Beneath every forest floor runs a vast network of fungal threads called mycelium, connecting tree roots to each other across acres of ground. Through these threads, trees share nutrients. A large tree in full sunlight sends sugars underground to a shaded seedling that cannot yet produce enough of its own. Signals travel through the network warning of insect attacks. Resources flow toward where they are needed most. Scientists call it the wood wide web. The mushrooms we walk past in the forest are the visible tips of something immeasurably larger, a living network that has been connecting, communicating, and sustaining forest life for hundreds of millions of years. We spent this entire video looking at mushrooms. We were looking at the surface of something we are only beginning to understand. That may be the most incredible thing of all. Every forest you have ever walked through was alive in ways you could not see. Beneath your feet, above your head, on every fallen log and damp patch of soil, a kingdom was going about its work in silence. The mushrooms in this video are a glimpse into that kingdom. And the more science looks, the more extraordinary it becomes. Thank you for exploring with us today. This is Flora.